with the past, so I'll have to carry the memory of that day into my death 63 years from now. Data deleted.
After the incident, Plutonium's brain was no longer suitable for a spark polymer extension. So I designed a similar polymer-based brain function extension for him called Voschod.
Is that me?
Cheriton, may he rest in peace, would be pleased to hear that his designs had not been wasted.
Is he talking about my brain? Review 500, from data deleted to Sechenov. Plutonium is recovering following neural adjustment and the installation of the Spark module. He has no memory of his wife. Did I have a wife? The events in Bulgaria or any of the other data you indicated. He's an extremely tenuous psychological and emotional state. As an active Argentum agent, he is already fit for duty, awaiting your orders. P.S. Unfortunately, during a key phase of the adjustment, an employee expressed sympathy with the agents, describing them as returning from their ordeal as crispy critters. No! This expression has since become an inextricable part of the agent's psychorhythmic and emotional background. If necessary, we could perform another adjustment in order to fix this linguistic oddity, but it would take time. The crispy critter's face is a result of him being damaged. Oh my gosh. Oh geez, there's like 3 more upstairs too. From Klimov to Klimov, are you cheating? You sank my aircraft. This is the freaking... This is the Battleship Boys. Sad face. You sank my submarine. X sad face. What are you, simple? You got hit at A10. There can't be anything at B10. Did you forget that you can't put ships right next to each other, or is this going to be like last time? Exclamation point. Are you nuts? Do you really think I can't see what you're doing from up here? Archive conversation. From Zakharov to Zakharov. Vice is a physiological condition and the magnum opus of the opium of the masses, the Bible. This is demonstrated clearly, if indirectly. Man learned of vice not after eating of a mystical fruit, but after coming to know himself. The body dictates vice to us. We want to procreate, so we become and perverts. We want to eat, so we steal money and food. We want pleasure, so we surround ourselves with senseless luxury. Man is not given to vice on his own. What pushes him toward it is his limited primitive shell, which requires food, sex, drugs, and care. Only the brilliance of pure intellect can illuminate mankind's path forward, because man is not a body, he is a way of thinking. Radio of the Future. From Stenography Department to the Archive. Excerpt from a paper by Lebedev. In response to those who are curious about the radio of the future, yes, we really can listen to radio broadcasts from the future. Literally. How does it work? If you read any of my previous papers, you'll find out, but you really aren't interested in the technical details, are you? You're interested in what it could do for you. You want to know if you could buy a lottery ticket knowing what it will win or avoid a nuclear holocaust. Am I right? It's not that simple. What we're hearing is a probable future. What could happen in 10, 30, or 50 years based on what's happening right now. But we have never, I repeat, never heard the same broadcast twice. A week ago, the Soviet Union crumbled in 1989 and ceased to exist as a country. This morning, we heard a presentation by the General Secretary of the Communist Party in 1999. Okay. I like reading this because this whole time, though, Radio from the Future's only been playing music. I've been like, what about the news? One day, we intercepted an emergency message about the launch of nuclear missiles in 1976. I was horrified. The future does not exist yet. Please remember that. All we can hear is an echo of an infinite quantumized multivariance and extract the most frequently repeated tendencies from it. What we will actually see tomorrow is entirely in our hands. To file with the archive. From Lebedeva to Klimov. I like saying Lebedeva. Comrade Klimov, do you seriously want to get data on an alternate timeline in which the Third Reich never invented the V2 rocket? You want to know how the world would be different? Okay, I'll tell you. It wouldn't. Do you know why? Because the invention of new weapons is called an arms race for a reason. It's a race. That means someone has to come in first. In our history, the Germans came in first, although it didn't particularly help them. But the Americans were nipping at their heels, and we were, as were we and the Brits. Yes, the V2 had an astonishing influence on missile design and the space program, but it was just a matter of time. Can you tell me who invented the radio? Was it Popov, Macaroni, Marconi, Hertz, Tesla? Do you know what's really interesting? What would have happened if the damn fascists hadn't invented the plague of theirs and mowed down half the world's population? That must be the brown plague. From now on, don't bother the alternate prediction department with childish questions in the vein of who'd win in a fight, a shark or a bear. P.S. It's the bear, obviously. That's such a boys thing to ask. Oh my gosh, there's so much in this room. Fix this ASAP! From Samushev to Vavilov Archive. It's gone over the materials of the Science and Life article, but in its nature, there's no competition within the same species, only among different species. A wolf eats a rabbit, but a rabbit doesn't eat another rabbit, it eats grass. Nor does wheat get in the way of other wheat. But wheat grass, saltbush, and sow thistle are all different species. They show up somewhere where wheat is growing. They will take its food and compete with it. Who wrote this nonsense? Are you trying to embarrass the entire Soviet Union with this crap? Complaint. From Vavilov to Semushev. Dear Comrade Semushev, I am utterly stunned by your careless attitude to the censorship of materials that have been published following your consultation in a number of periodicals. References to this complex as cut off from real life or having poor connection to our production facilities are simply false. Vavilov Complex is first and foremost a scientific institution that operates according to a specific plan. Our theoretical work is bound up in the most substantial way with practical issues related to seed cultivation and the facility's future designs. A man would have to be blind to deny the enormous accomplishments Vavilov's teams have made in so little time and under such trying circumstances. The Institute's research is laying the foundations necessary to develop a real-world project to conquer new worlds. Going forward, please be more mindful of how our work is depicted in print. Walking in the Sun. Just watched the latest mini. The backflip dodges are an Asura thing. I always thought it was a thief thing because my Asura tune is the... It's an Asura thing. Yeah, it's an Asura thing. Report Vavilov. From Semushev to Vavilov Archive Department. Seeds, processed and packed. Wheat, buckwheat, eucalyptus, sweet potatoes, peas, garlic, dandelions. Garlic. Rodents. Rats ate 3 tons of garlic? P.S. Double check the data, especially about the dandelions. It's clearly an error. What are we supposed to do with 40 tons of dandelions on Mars? Make dandelion wine? Submit to the archive. Mukov to Semushev. Project Hemlock has been halted and deemed unfit for further study. You are hereby informed that all materials pertaining to Hemlock are to be cataloged as top secret under designation A2. That's the plant boss, I thought. Organized and filed in the appropriate sections. Any further references to it in other documents are to be redacted via the standard system. Be especially mindful of information about any employees who were allegedly injured during the project. Delete the names of all casualties. Excerpt from Life magazine. From Academy of Consequences Secretary's Office to Semushev. Despite its secrecy, argentum, which is silver in Latin, has already become the stuff of legend in a number of European and American publications. Journalists are supposed to be surprised by its extremely small staff. It's cold. Its incredible training and equipment, and its name, which is very atypical of the Soviet Union. You've got to admit, compared to abbreviations like SMERSH and Nikovid, it comes off as odd and clumsy. Rumors say the squad soldiers are described nearly as either enormous red-eyed bears who eat children or athletic blonde supermen. One look at them will have driven Hitler to dissolve the Reich and admit the German Übermensch's defeat. They are a mystery and will remain one, but we can say this much for certain. Argentum is currently the best trained Special Forces squad on Earth, and given the Soviet Union's plans, it could become the best trained squad in the solar system before long. Archive Conversation 22, data deleted to Sechenov. Comrade Sechenov, following the events of Bulgaria, agents Blesna and Plutonium, that's me, we're Plutonium I think, have both returned in a coma. They are in a vegetative state and are not connected by the neural network. No signs of consciousness have been observed awaiting your orders. Alright, what happened in Bulgaria? Article by Tom Wolfe. From Academy of Consequences Secretary's Office to Vavilov Semushev. Your request for excerpts about the facility from foreign media. Washington Post article, The Soviet Union's Steel Frame by Tom Wolfe. Universal roboticization of the Soviet Union can be considered a most curious case of modern hypocrisy. Ignoring any populist questions about whether or not robots that pass the Turing test have personal identities, I'm merely pointing out how absurd and at the same time sinister the widespread use of the workforce is. Judge for yourselves a nation whose guiding light is an ideology that embraced equality and strives to end the exploitation of workers and peasants by capital has now subordinated an entire army of soulless machines that can satisfy its every whim. I don't know anything about Collective 2.0, but I'd say the Soviet Union is capitalism 2.0 writ large. The only question is when these robots will demand equal rights for themselves and how bloody the revolution will be. The acceleration of evolution. From Semushev to Vavilov Archive Department. On the acceleration of evolution, despite all their talent and the indisputable success achieved by Vavilov's research assistants, there's a concern regarding an issue that, while predictable, can only be confirmed in practice. This problem is more profound than preparing seeds for inhospitable conditions on other planets. Unlike scientists, evolutionary mechanisms do not make predictions or evaluate risk. They simply function, culling the weak and rewarding the strong. Dozens of even hundreds of factors will affect the growth and development of our culture, so it makes sense to suggest that while working with the genetics of plants, we should begin by breeding them for faster growth and renewal rather than trying to foresee every minor detail about them. We just need to give evolution a shot in the arm and it will do the rest for us, which is how it's always been, by the way. Whew. Again, this lady's just watching me just read all this mail.
I only need one for now.
Wait, what? Okay, I'm still carrying one of those things, I guess. Lecture by Kaimov from Pavlov Debate Club President. Hi, Noxy. Azarova. Speaker, when I give talks to the Soviet Union and allied countries, I'm often asked whether it makes sense to focus scientific progress on making fundamental changes to the human race. We could, for example, teach people to change the properties of their skin in order to make it more resistant to heat or cold, or regrow lost limbs like certain reptiles, or control their biochemistry on a basic level. In other words, to rephrase a well-known thesis, should we strive for evolution in the individual? Archive conversation, number 16. From data deleted to Sechenov. Comrade Sechenov, there was a fire in Comrade Zakharov's lab this morning. He is in my glove. The professor who was found dead in the medical lab. It was obvious that he had independently performed an unauthorized neurosurgical procedure using remote-controlled medical robots. His remains are being analyzed, awaiting your orders. Club Minutes, from Azarova to the Archive Terminal. Excerpt from Debate Club Minutes. Speaker 1, maintaining the high level of technology Soviet science has achieved obviously requires people of profound intellect. This is why the fear of a situation could arise in which technology allows society to become stupider is irrational. Otherwise, this level of technology would be ultimately unsustainable. Speaker 2, but if this threatens to divide mankind into two different groups, a smaller group of big brains that does all the intellectual activity, and another massive group of tiny brains that either does the simplest job or does nothing at all because machines do everything for them, this is a pretty gloomy future, but is it even possible? I mean, I think we're already there. How many of us know how to build an iPhone? I think we already have that. Speaker 1, this is exactly why the population's ideological education needs to be our #1 priority. Oh my god, last one, and then we can watch the videos. No topic. From Deboltskaya to Privilov. Get over here right now, please. Something's wrong. Dumb and Dumber. From Deboltskaya to Privilov. Please change the workplace assignments for Y and M Klimov and put them as far from each other as possible. Despite these employees' excellent professional qualifications, their productivity plummets when they are able to converse with one another. Employees have been complaining about their loud laughter and inappropriate jokes. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm shocked. While things at the facility usually shock me in a good way, this time I'm simply outraged. The latest innovations in analyzing the structure of the future have allowed your lab assistants to make predictions of incredible accuracy and importance. And what are they doing? That's right, they're logging into our systems to hear the latest music from the radio of the future. I have no intention of disparaging the achievements of this project. Hearing music that will not be written for 30 or 40 years is truly a scientific marvel. But only for the layman. Your employees are men of science, not greasers in leather jackets and tight jeans. If anyone else comes here to save themselves a copy of the latest Billie Eilish song, I'll cut off access for a month. Missing components! From Lavrov to Privilov. Despite the obvious importance of the entire archive for Facility 3826, I have been unable to get authorization for additional... Oh, wait, hold on. Question, chat. If someone comes in, like, if the future Billie Eilish song goes, like, viral, does modern-day Billie Eilish that hasn't wrote it yet get proceeds? Because if he doesn't, I feel like he would lose all motivation and just stop making music. But then you've got a paradox. I've been unable to get authorization for additional shipments of superconductor material for over a year now. Before the accident, Comrade Zakharov promised to solve the problem via his personal channels. My question to you, Comrade Supervisor, is do you have any such channels of your own, and could you perhaps solve this problem for me? If not, the entire system might go belly up someday. Archive Conversation 19, from data deleted to Sechenov. The agent's tests have yielded impressive results. While immersed in limbo, I think this might be about me again, this seemingly fragile young woman literally becomes an invincible fighter. Never mind. The implication for training sabotage specialists, as well as our overall approach to secrecy, are enormous. The fighter's memory can literally be wiped without harming their skills or personality. The term sleeper agent will take on a whole new meaning soon. Data deleted.
Nechayev has emerged from his year in rehab a new man, with new habits and behaviors. For example, he's become fond of a certain euphemism. Crispy critters. It all started after one of the medics described him and Blesna as crispy critters during his recovery. He was still in a coma at the time. He suddenly leaped out of bed and nearly strangled the medic to death. The staff subdued him by shouting, "We're under fire," after which Plutonium ducked for cover, hit his head, and passed out. Ever since then,
That's so stupid.
crispy critters has become part of his vocabulary. Could it be an example of psychological imprinting?
Yeah, I gotta say, the whole crispy critters thing, I thought was terrible writing. But with this little bit of backstory, it's a little better. You know? Because if you just, because it was for the longest time, I'm like, why does he have this PG phrase, and then other times he just cusses like a sailor? If you just assume that his normal personality is just always cussing like a sailor, and then this was sort of like brainwashed into him, and then this just pops up from time to time, it makes him make more sense a little bit. Upgrade message 7 from Mukluk to Privilov. Comrade Privilov, is there any way to automate cataloging on a software level? According to my calculations, I spend between 5 and 7% of the time it takes me to do my paperwork filling in dates and numbers. As a result, I waste about 47 minutes every day, which is about 1,260 minutes per work month, or about 21 hours. That's 2.5 work days I could be spending more efficiently. Have you lost your minds over there? Do something about this right away. P.S. I went to the psychologist for a checkup as requested. In total, my sessions took 11 hours, about 2 of which were spent on smoke breaks. The psychologist found no deviations. Lol. You read names like the English Premier League football news reporter. I do what I can. Was there a save terminal here somewhere? Because we just read for an hour.
Try this one.
Commencing playback.
The events in Bulgaria left the agents badly injured. Technically speaking, they were clinically dead. Agent Blesna could not be saved. Since Agent Plutonium's condition was less severe, it was possible to return him to combat readiness. However, his nearly destroyed limbs had to be amputated and replaced with the latest prosthesis.
Do I have robot limbs?
I already know half my body's prosthetic. What
Oh.
else is new?
These are just general observations. Find another recording.
Okay. I know there's another one up here. Add 1 of 5 timings about. Hold on, chat. Hold on a sec. I'm spoiling someone in chat. Just a minute. I can do this periodically.
Mukluk gifted a tier 1 sub to Pirokit.
Oh, thank you, Mukluk. Very kind.
Okay, play this one.
Commencing playback.
Following his recovery, the agent's personality was altered significantly, including his behavioral and speech patterns. Because of this, I made the decision to remove the agent from the Argentum unit. In order to prevent any possibility of memory recidivism, Plutonium received a new call sign, P3, and is now under my direct command and observation. P3's contact with Argentum has been kept to a minimum, and Argentum personnel have been warned against mentioning the call sign Blesna in P3's presence.
Crispy. I'll get another one.
What? Sechenov has you on a leash. He does whatever he wants with you.
Listen, Doc, he saved my life. Do you think I don't know I'm a test subject? That's my job.
So you're a volunteer, huh? Then why are you such a disobedient test subject?
Because before they always told me what they were doing. I'll go get another recording.
Wait. Had I been up here? Oh god. I don't think I've been up here. Crap! From Privilov to here's my opinion on your article on the culture of instant messaging. All in all, I think it's well written, succinct, it does a good job of explaining the concept of developing faster ways to transmit text. The comparison to mail, then the telegraph, then the telephone, and then finally the terminal system is quite good. However, your frivolous dalliance with depicting emotions via text seems entirely out of place or even theatrical. How do you imagine people will use punctuation to fill a text-based message with emotional content? Emojis. People still don't even understand the difference between a dash and a hyphen or a comma and a semicolon, and you want them to start using these characters to communicate their mood? It's truly absurd. Get rid of it. Exclamations. From Losipova to Deboltskaya. Ekaterina, I read what you wrote about using a colon and a parentheses to make a smiley face. It's a cute idea, but Privilov will never approve something like that. I think you'd be better off doing it a different way. Remember how people used to abbreviate words in telegrams? Maybe if you want to show you're happy, you could write hap. And if you feel sad, you could just write sad. Think it over. XO Maria. Can I get a hap in chat? Archive conversation 10. Zakharov to Sechenov. Dimitri, I read your plan to install in an implantable module. I value your I value your persistence, but I must repeat yet again. I have no desire for arms, legs, hair, or the need to waste time eating and going to the bathroom. I'm fine, Dimitri, but your weak-minded desire to anthropomorphize everything under the sun is making me uneasy. Instead of thinking about how to put me into the head of some muscle-bound member of the Communist Youth League, why don't you find a way to cast off the burden of your own aging flesh? From Privilov to Deboltskaya. From a comprehensive article from Technology for Kids about the facility in the West, smart educated people call us Homo Sovieticus. They're proud to have discovered this type of person, so they came up with this nice name. They also use this name to humiliate us and put us down. They don't realize we've done something more, that we were the first to breed this type of person, but in the West, all they can do is come up with new words for things. They think this contribution to history is much more important than our accomplishments. The West's high opinion of itself is deserving of ridicule. At Sechenov's request, find references to Homo Sovieticus throughout the entire database and change it to Homo Futurum in every instance. Control F, replace chat.
Yes, it's part of the experiment. You won't see anyone. Not me, not anyone else. Okay, subject. You will now have a conversation with two young women. Their names are Betsy.
That's me.
And Olga.
Hello.
I need you to talk to them and tell me which of the young ladies you spoke to is not a human being, but an artificially generated voice. Is that clear?
Yeah, sure. I get it.
You may begin.
So, Betsy, do you have any kids?
I'm afraid not. But I want to have two when I finish my internship in about 3 years or so.
Huh. Okay. And here's the last one. Olga, could you ever kill someone?
Me? I don't know. Maybe if they were an enemy or trying to hurt people. Yeah, I guess I could do it to protect the motherland.
Excellent.
I think
Done here.
Betsy's the bot.
Which of the two young
Or they're
women
both
you
bots.
spoke with is a machine?
I think it's Betsy. Yes.
So, you think Olga is human?
That makes sense to me.
Please note that I never told you that either of them was human.
So they're both machines?
Actually, none of the individuals you've spoken to during this experiment are human. Thank you for your time. Please escort the subject out.
I like how they just break his brain and then put him back on the streets. Raven 1 from Aleutian to News Prediction Department. The Raven 1 satellite was launched into orbit, but we were immediately notified it had malfunctioned. That's the official version anyway. The unofficial version's more complicated. The Pleiush samples on the orbiting satellite began to behave in a completely unexpected fashion in zero gravity and independently terminated communications with Earth. 2 years later, in 57, we're planning to send a remote-controlled module disguised as another satellite to shed some light on these events, but until then, Raven 1 will be described as a failed, shattered project in all official documents. Yo, I don't know what those Pleiush things are supposed to be, other than terrifying. I don't know, like, what they were supposed to do. Archive Conversation 51. From Data Lead to Sechenov. Plutonium is to be removed from Argentum. He will report directly to me. As for this linguistic oddity of his, crispy critters, leave it be. It will give him elements of a new personality, perform the necessary operations, install the module, and put him in a hospital room under surveillance. We can always turn a positive into a negative.
Here's another one.
Doubts. From Pavlov to Nikitin. As you know, I'm extremely old, and believe me, as a man who has dedicated his entire life to the science of life itself, no one is more surprised by this than me. What I mean to say is that the seduction of longevity, which I am subject to, and to which I have no doubt any living being would similarly have pursued, now seems monstrous to me. Back then, when I first met Dmitry Sechenov as a patient on his operating table, I could never have imagined I might feel weighed down by the burden of the life he worked so hard to save. No, no, my friend, there is no joy in a long life, much less an eternal one. Like a shark living in icy waters for half a millennium, I'm now swimming in the incessant flow of life, only able to observe the achievements of colleagues whose names I barely recall, trying to remember those who came before, and whose names are lost forever to history. This lengthy foreword leads me to my conclusion, Comrade Nikitin. Your request to undergo life-extending procedures is officially denied. Please do not pursue this matter any further. There is no point. Okay. Report from Pavlov to Nikitin. Experimental department individual data for May to June reporting period. Pigs, cows, dogs, cats. Taken for one incoming not requested, taken for adoption by a lab assistant. They were ordering pigs, cows, dogs, and stuff for experiments, and someone's like, add a cat, I want a cat. Humans. One transferred to theater. Oh my god. Troubling issue. Pavlov to Nikitin. Vivisection is a cruel procedure that is justly considered unethical. When I began an experiment that will result in the death of an animal, I feel a proud sense of regret at cutting short an exuberant life and acting as the executioner of another living being. When I cut into and violate any living animal, I must smother myself the biting reproach that I am with my coarse and disrespectful hand breaking a machine of transcendent artistry. But I do this in the pursuit of truth to help my fellow man. However, in recent years, I've begun to suspect that certain similar experiments are being conducted in my complex without my knowledge, of course. Not on animals, but on fellow man himself. Due to my frailty and hectic schedule, I've been unable to confirm these suspicions, for which reason I request that you immediately send me any archival information about any such acts transpiring on the premises. Needless to say, if this practice does in fact exist, I mean to nip it in the bud. Let's see, hold on a sec. So, this is from a little while ago. Confidential. Let's see, from Comrade Pavlov to Nikitin. Vitaly, Comrade Pavlov have been a little anxious lately. I am aware that he keeps sending you requests for archival data on various projects from Pavlov, especially on the threshold of the launch of Collective 2.0. So I've got a little request for you. Comrade Pavlov is, shall we say, getting on in years. We should try to keep his worries to a minimum. He's a talented scientist, but he's become painfully sentimental in recent years. If you got any requests regarding particularly complex issues, just stall him for a bit and tell me right away. I'll make it worth your time. Certain dissonance from Pavlov to Nikitin. Progress by leaps and bounds has become typical of humanity by this challenging 20th century. Against the background of tremendous inequality, breakthroughs in science and technology can seem not just astonishing or even insulting, but this is a sociological and political matter. Right now, I want to contemplate the issues of the individual who, feeling himself in a state of accelerated freefall, is being flung forward faster and faster by progress. Much like the pseudo-scientific fears voiced when the railroads were being built, when the suggestion was actually made that the sight of the landscape whizzing by at 50 kilometers per hour would drive passengers mad, I am beset by similar predictions. Just 25 years ago, more than half of all Soviet citizens were illiterate. Today, we are flying into space. What awaits us tomorrow? Will we have time to catch our breath before our next great leap? Data deleted.
As a young man, plutonium, now P3, was confident and funny, which played a key role in his assignment to Argentum. He was a promising operative, but lagged behind many other candidates in a number of ways. However, the positive influence and infectious good humor he imparted to his fellow servicemen, especially in comparison to the more morose Commander Kuznetsov, served as a compelling reason to recruit him. Because of this, the emergence of a more intimate relationship between him and Agent Blesna was only a matter of time.
Oh. Wait, okay. So Blesna, the other agent that was hurt on the mission we were on, was the one that was, like, injured beyond saving. And they did say we were married. So maybe the whole thing in Bulgaria is our wife died? Top secret archive chronology of the Zakharov incident. You don't understand me, or is it that you don't want to? Or are you afraid of losing the man who will give you your brilliant future? No, I'm not particularly fond of the human race you love so dearly, but that's not the reason, Dmitri. I'm the only one who can figure out all the finer points from the inside. The implant can only be configured and analyzed from within the subject's consciousness. No test subject, whether it be a rat or even a human being, can perform this kind of research. You're preventing me from continuing my work. Okay. Finally. Got through all that. I like the lore, but it was a lot of it all at once.
Let's give this one a spin.
Procedure. Implant the Voskhod neuropolymer brain function extension. Objective. Total elimination of destructive impulses triggered by traumatic memories. Patient, Major Sergei Nechayev. Codename, Plutonium. Attempt number 3. The first 2 operations were unsuccessful. The patient suffered a severe brain injury in Bulgaria, which could not be repaired.